Next is Karl Milliren, who is going to present a program today on polio, and I am going to get my screen set here so that he can see everything that he needs to see, hopefully.
Take notes.
Take notes.
That's what the blank space is.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Kim did say the blank space in the bulletin was not because the song was not in there. That was so you guys could take notes today.
So,
Yep. And I've got it right over there.
Is there a ledge or something?
There's not. Probably right on top.
Triggering up.
Yep.
Okay. When I started doing this talk, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago. You know, I wanted to do it mainly because when I became a Rotarian, the eradication of polio was the issue that hit me in the hardest, and turned me from a rhino into a Rotarian. It gave me what I felt like we should be about as Rotarians, and it just kind of hit close to home. Now, I've never had anybody in my family that suffered from polio. However, in the years that I've worked in this position for the club, I have met several people who have had polio and seen the effects on their lives. So hopefully, and the other reason too was every time they did this meeting, it became almost, I don't know, the lead weight. It was numbers. And, you know, I think you can put people to sleep pretty quickly with numbers. So hopefully I won't do that today. I'm trying to stay away from exactly numbers. But last year, when I prepared this talk, I was recovering from knee replacement. If you'll remember, we did this on Zoom because of COVID. And we talked about what is the plus in Polio Plus. And in that process, we discussed a man named Musa Muhammad Ali, who was a farmer in northern Nigeria, crippled by the ravages of polio. And he was a livestock farmer. And just for him to get his livestock fed, he had to spend money to have people go pick up feed for his livestock. Well, the Rotarians saw this need in the Polio Plus part of the eradication of polio. They provided him with a hand-operated tricycle, which allowed him to go get the feed for himself and save the money. And he applied that money towards helping out in other areas, such as going on the door-to-door polio vaccine campaign. Also, on that same note, we've got a man named Isaku Musa Majai, who's a 24-year-old gentleman who was also crippled by polio. And he taught himself how to build these tricycles and created a business selling them to other polio victims that were then able to be mobilized and become part of society. Rotarians saw the benefit of this, and through a grant purchased over 150 of these tricycles, which allowed this gentleman to also take place in the door-to-door vaccine program. And we're going to revisit that. Some other things that Polio Plus did was they supplied bed nets to control the spread of malaria. They enhanced medical treatments, also adding measles vaccines, which kills over 1,250,000 children in these areas every year. They also provide hygiene through soap, just the simple supply of cleaning and teaching these people that you must wash your hands. because polio is spread through human waste. And it is a disease that runs rampant when hygiene is poor. And then finally, somebody in the Rotarian group of Polio Plus added vitamin A to the oral vaccine. Vitamin A is crucial to the infants that are receiving the vaccine as simply a way of preventing the spread of other infectious diseases. So that's what we covered last year, was what exactly is Polio Plus. Now I'm going to take you just down a little timeline of what we have done since 1995 with Rotary and Rotary Plus. Let me see if I can find the.
You just click this one. Probably.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay, is that, there it is. Is that the right
That's
one?
the back. That's
There.
the forward. Yep.
Okay, there we go. So in 1995, health workers and volunteers immunized over 165 million children in China and India in 1 week. Rotary launches the Polio Plus Partner Program, enabling Rotary members in polio-free countries to provide support for fellow members in polio-affected countries for the eradication of polio. A record in 2000, a record 550 million children, almost 10% of the world population, received the oral polio vaccine. The Western Pacific region, spanning from Australia to China, is declared polio-free. In 2003, the Rotary Foundation raises $119 million in a 12-month campaign. Rotary's total contributions to polio eradication exceed $500 million in this year. 6 countries remain endemic: Afghanistan, Egypt, India, Nigeria, and Pakistan. In 2006, the number of polio endemic countries drops to 4: Afghanistan, India, Nigeria, and Pakistan. In 2009, Rotary overall contribution to the eradication effort nears $800 million. In January, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation pledges $355 million and issues Rotary a challenge, a grant of $200 million. I remember when that took place. At that time, the announcement will result in a combined $555 million in support of the Global Polio Eradication Initiative. In 2011, Rotary welcomed celebrities to the This Close campaign, such as Dr. Jane Goodall, Desmond Tutu, also Bill and Melinda Gates. And I don't know if you remember that This Close campaign where they had the little, yeah. Well, we're still this close. And that's where I want to go next. India, in 2012, India surpasses 1 year without recorded case of polio and is removed from the list of countries where it's endemic. Polio remains endemic now in 3 countries. Rotary surpasses the 200 million challenge goal more than 5 months ahead of schedule. In 2014, India goes 3 full years without a new case caused by the wild polio virus. The WHO, or World Health Organization, certifies Southeast Asia region as polio-free. Polio cases are down over 99% since 1988. So from 1988 to 2014, we have decreased the world infection rate by 99%, leaving 1% infected. And I'll cover that in a second as to why that is important. In 2019, Nigeria goes 3 full years without a new case of wild polio virus. And in 2020, the World Health Organization certifies the African region as polio-free. That leaves 2 countries. And last year, these were the same 2 countries: Afghanistan and Pakistan. Now, Afghanistan, this past week, reports one wild polio virus case. a total number of 43 of this CVDPV. Now, what that is vaccine-derived polio. Now, why that's important is it is not the wild version, but as a result of a modified live vaccine, there are some infections. They can be contained. Without the vaccine, the wild virus starts reproducing. So this is collateral damage in a campaign to eradicate the virus. The importance of this vaccine-derived virus is what I want to center on today. In Pakistan, the total number of wild polio cases remain at 1, and the vaccine-derived cases remains at 8. So there's 4 in Afghanistan of the wild virus, 1 in Pakistan. Very close to eradication. Now, why is that important? This 1% of infection rate, if one child is left unprotected, all children in the planet are left unprotected because the virus can reestablish itself. If we can protect all children, then it truly becomes an eradicated disease. What are the challenges that are stopping us from finishing this 1%? Because we've been at 1% for several years now. That's what I want to cover in today's topic. So the challenges that face us in the home stretch. In 2020, GPI launched a revision of strategy for polio eradication. Partners and shareholders collectively identified remaining obstacles to the polio eradication in order to inform a revised, strengthened plan. They then developed optimal approaches reaching the goal adapted by the global health context and based on lessons learned. The strengthened plan aims to achieve and sustain a polio-free world through a focus on implementation and accountability. So what are these challenges? Our old friend, coronavirus. You know, when I ran across this, I'm sitting there going, okay, once again, you know, it hits us. So why is coronavirus such a challenge? What does it do to the situation where Afghanistan and Pakistan are struggling to vaccinate their children? By tying up health assets, by creating issues where the World Health Organization, the CDC, and Rotary are having to channel assets into a program so they can get children vaccinated, and yet they lose the actual assets that they had because they have been redirected into the coronavirus pandemic. That's a real issue. The good side of this is it opened up some doors to getting the vaccine in, because some of these countries realized, especially Afghanistan, that if they didn't start vaccinating for coronavirus, that they were, you know, apt to lose a large percentage of their population. The second issue is political pressure. When America withdrew from Afghanistan, unfortunately, politically, Afghanistan became less stable. That was kind of expected, but that instability has led to a decrease in efforts to reach unvaccinated children in the country of Afghanistan. Pakistan is collateral damage in that situation because Pakistan is unfortunately being derided by the political situation in Afghanistan. The other side of that is there is definitely a strong anti-American sentiment in these two countries. So that makes it more difficult. 2 years ago, when I first started preparing these talks, there was a team of Rotarians and UNICEF vaccinating team in a tent that were blown up. And I think the Rotarians survived, but 2 of the UNICEF workers died in the explosion. And it was a terrorist attack. They were there trying to do good for the children. Unfortunately, they suffered as a result of their mission. Now, this next one, gender equality, I struggled with that. I'm like, what in the world happens? How has gender equality become part of this equation? So, gender-related barriers to immunization exist in many areas. Women's lower literacy rates and lack of access to information impact access to vaccines and health services. Gender inequality in many places have restricted women's decision-making power about their children's health, including receiving the vaccine. Also, due to gender norms, in some societies, only women can access the household. That cuts the vaccination teams in half. If you cannot send a man into a house to help with the vaccine, you're decreasing your people that can work in that level. Again, this comes back to societal norms in Afghanistan and Pakistan. It makes it more difficult to interact with the mothers and to deliver the polio vaccines to their children. Women's participation is critical in polio eradication. Lower education levels for the women have been shown to directly link to lower immunization levels in their children. In some society, boys are more valued than the health of the girls. Therefore, they are prioritized. Women in some areas may not be allowed to travel to the areas where the vaccines are being delivered. Where gender inequality persists, women often lack access to the resources like money, transportation, and time that are needed to seek the health services for themselves and their children. Gender barriers operate with and are affected by several other barriers, including the socioeconomic background, age, and ethnicity. So that leads us to education. And this is where Polio Plus has really, I want to make sure I get us done by 1 o'clock. So we got 4 minutes. So Polio Plus has really stepped up in Afghanistan and Pakistan, setting up a way of educating and helping out in different areas, as well as in sanitation. Tunji Fusho is the Rotary representative in Pakistan, and she made the statement, we don't have clean water, yet you're vaccinating our children. So there's a dichotomy there. You know, we want to vaccinate them, but in vaccinating them, we have to be very careful, you know, that we maintain a proper level of sanitation. When there is a lack of education, that leads forth to a suspicious nature. So if you don't understand something, you tend to be suspicious of it. And Tunji also made the observation that when things are free and persistent, people in her area tend to become suspicious. So it became very important that Polio Plus increase the level of education of these people in this area. Now, as we stand here today, we have the 5 active cases of wild polio virus and the number of cases that are derived from vaccine-derived polio. I want to close with this video. It's about 2 minutes. And it gives us kind of a synopsis of what are the challenges facing us ahead, and also the needs, because with the challenge comes financial need. So I want to let you hear that, and then I want to finish up with what our club has done this past year. So next I have to close. I won't pull that back up. We'll just close it. Start it up. There you go.
Efforts and the power of vaccines, most of us live without fear of polio. Since 1988, polio cases have dropped by 99.9% globally. Despite this tremendous progress, the threat of polio still looms. Wild polio persists in 2 countries, and outbreaks of a non-wild form, CVDPV, are spreading across parts of Africa and Asia. In our connected world, disease can quickly spread, which means polio anywhere is a threat to children everywhere. Persistent challenges, exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, have prompted a transformed approach to achieving eradication. Now, the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, GPEI, has a new strategy to reach every last child with vaccines and ensure they and the world are protected from this devastating disease. The GPEI strategy introduces innovative new tools and tactics and redefines the existing approach to urgently end all forms of polio. This includes improving the speed of response to CVDPV outbreaks and introducing a new tool, NOPV2, to end type 2 CVDPVs. Strengthening partnerships with affected governments to increase ownership of local polio programs and improve vaccination campaign quality. Integrating polio activities with the delivery of essential health services to meet health needs of high-risk communities. And empowering women at all levels of the program. Achieving a polio-free world needs continued leadership and political and financial commitments from governments, donors, and partners. Working together, we can ensure no family has to live with the threat of polio again. Visit polioeradication.org for more info.
So,
Forget expensive solar panels.
yeah,
go
you
to
want
the
to
next video.
get rid of that. Yeah.
Energy program.
Maybe.
All Black homeowners are getting paid up to $2,500.
We get an ad.
Install solar panels plus a Tesla Powerwall on their home.
There you go. Close that down. So last year, 2021, our club raised $8,000. That was essentially $100 per member. This year, we plan the same amount. If we increase our membership, we will increase the amount we raise. We did have the, in October, was it? The polio meal, or was that November? October. And at that, with the Facebook efforts, we raised over $500 to go towards the polio fund. I want to close with just one statement. If there are children anywhere in the world exposed and with polio, all children everywhere are at risk. And that's something we should remember. And if coronavirus has taught us anything, it's taught us just how quickly things can spread in our world. So please keep that in mind. I would encourage anybody who's interested to look at the Global Eradication website. Has a lot of great information. Hopefully I didn't go too far over. Oh, it's 1 o'clock, right on the money.
Yep, you're good.
Good deal.
Thank you, Carl. And thank you for always, adding the twist, and giving us all the information about these polio eradication efforts that, we don't always hear about in Rotary. So thank you for sharing with us.